Imagine standing alone on a frozen tundra tens of thousands of years ago. The wind bites through your clothing, snow drifts around you, and the darkness is nearly complete. Every shadow could conceal a predator, and the bitter cold seeps into your bones. You have no modern tools, no lighter, no ferro rod, not even a match. All you have are your hands, sharp stones, and the raw materials nature provides. Your life, your warmth, and your very survival depend on one thing: fire. Without it, the night could be deadly. Food remains raw, hypothermia sets in, and the cold becomes relentless. For Neanderthals, this wasn't a hypothetical scenario. It was everyday reality. And yet, they didn't just survive, they mastered fire in ways so effective that even today, survivalists study their methods to understand reliability, resilience, and ingenuity. Fire, for prehistoric humans, was far more than warmth or cooking. It was protection against predators, a source of light, and a focal point for community and learning. Around fire, knowledge was shared, skills were taught, and social bonds were strengthened. Every tool they made, every meal they prepared, and every survival strategy relied on it. Many people assume that Neanderthals merely used friction methods, rubbing sticks together or employing simple bow drills. While friction fire existed, it was unpredictable, especially in cold or wet environments. Neanderthals, however, used a method that was deliberate, precise, and highly reliable. Archaeological evidence shows that they used a combination of pyrite and flint to generate sparks, an approach that allowed them to maintain fire even in the harshest glacial conditions. Pyrite, often called fool's gold, is a naturally occurring iron sulfide mineral. When struck against flint, it produces hot, bright sparks that are far more effective than friction-based embers. Unlike wood, pyrite does not absorb moisture or swell in wet conditions, making it dependable even in rain or snow. Unlike steel, which had not yet been discovered, pyrite was readily available to Neanderthals. The sparks produced by striking pyrite against flint are hotter and more consistent than friction fire, capable of igniting prepared tinder with minimal effort. Modern experiments demonstrate just how effective this method is. In cold, damp conditions, where a bow drill or hand drill might fail repeatedly, pyrite and flint generate fire reliably and quickly. Imagine striking a sharp piece of flint against pyrite, and a shower of sparks lands on a carefully prepared nest of plant fibers, dried fungi, or shredded bark. A single glowing fragment could create a flame strong enough to ignite twigs, bark curls, and eventually larger fuel. This wasn't luck, it was skill perfected over countless generations of survival. But fire is not just about sparks, it's about preparation and material selection. Neanderthals didn't just grab grass or random twigs in desperation. They carefully processed and prepared tinder ahead of time. Archaeological findings show dense bracket fungi, soft plant fibers, shredded inner bark, and dried seed pith, all chosen specifically for their ability to ignite quickly. These materials were fluffed into nests or bundles, creating a concentrated area where a spark could reliably catch. Modern survivalists can replicate this by creating tinder bundles using soft plant fibers, fungi, or dried inner bark. It may seem meticulous, but this preparation mirrors the discipline and foresight that allowed prehistoric humans to survive and thrive in unpredictable, often hostile environments. Once a spark caught, Neanderthals didn't force it into a flame. They nurtured it patiently, feeding it with controlled breaths, cupping it in their hands, and shielding it from wind. Many beginners today make the mistake of blowing too hard extinguishing the ember before it grows. But when handled correctly, a tiny spark develops into a glowing ember, which gradually ignites twigs, bark curls, and eventually larger fuel. This careful, deliberate process teaches a fundamental lesson. Fire is a living tool that requires observation, patience, and respect. Each ember demanded attention and care, demonstrating that survival was as much mental skill as physical strength. Neanderthals also understood that fire wasn't a one-time task. They carried embers from one location to another, preserved coals under ash, and revived them the next day. Maintaining fire over time was often easier, safer, and more efficient than constantly restarting it from scratch. Modern survivalists can apply the same principle, preserve embers, bury them under ash to maintain heat, and carefully revive them in the morning. This method conserves energy, fuel, and effort, all critical factors in a survival scenario where every calorie and every minute matters. This ancient method remains relevant today because it works where friction-based techniques often fail. It works in rain, snow, freezing temperatures, and in environments where modern tools are unavailable or fail. Beyond the technical skill, it teaches the same traits that allowed humans to survive for hundreds of thousands of years: patience, resourcefulness, foresight, and precision. Practicing Neanderthal firecraft connects us to the most fundamental survival skill humans have ever developed. It's not merely about creating fire, it's about understanding the environment, preparing materials, respecting natural resources, and thinking strategically about survival. Fire begins long before the spark ever lands. It begins with preparation, careful observation, and patience. It is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. If you take anything away from this exploration into Neanderthal firecraft, it's that the fire which kept humans alive long before civilization isn't just history, it is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and applied today. By studying and applying these techniques, you step into the footsteps of our ancestors, learning not just how to survive, but how to thrive with the tools and resources nature provides. If you found this journey into ancient firecraft fascinating, make sure to subscribe for more historically grounded survival wisdom. Share this video with someone who loves real fieldcraft history and practice these lessons safely. The fire that kept humans alive long before civilization began isn't just a story, it's a skill, a mindset, and a connection to a lineage of resilience, ingenuity, and survival stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. The same fire that lit the caves of Neanderthals can still teach us how to live, endure, and thrive today.